Donald Trump is having a scattershot week, and he clearly wants some attention. Most days we ignore him because most of his statements are rich with lies, and we frankly don't want to waste your time. But he has a big rally in Iowa this weekend, and there's a big fundraiser for House Republicans on the books. So, as Trump visits a key 2024 state, and as House Republicans ask you to return them to power, let's take a moment to consider his mindset and the judgment of those who make clear he remains their leader. Just this week, vengeance against Republicans who voted to impeach him. Trump today endorsing a primary challenger to Liz Cheney. On Tuesday, he backed a challenger to Michigan's Fred Upton. A remarkable statement last night praising the Confederate General Robert E. Lee, just hours after that towering statue of Lee, was taken down in Richmond, Virginia. He's reaching out to the families of U.S. service members killed in Afghanistan. And this Saturday, on the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, Donald Trump will spend the evening commentating on a boxing match with his son, Donald Jr. The panel is back with me. He wants attention. Let me start. We could start anywhere, but let me start with Robert E. Lee. President Best Schools didn't do very well, or doesn't remember any very well his history. He said last night, Robert E. Lee is considered by many generals to be the greatest strategist of them all. He goes on to talk about sending General Lee into Afghanistan. General Lee lost.
This feels like news purgatory. It really does. I mean, these are the greatest hits. These are things that we reported about during the Donald Trump presidency. He knows loudest. And so he's just, again, going through the hits, and that is yielding probably support and buzz for his ultimate goal, which is either returning to the presidency or just keeping his power over the Republican Party.
There's also a connection here with the Lee statement, which is that he is defending a military officer who actually wasn't a part of the U.S. military, who fought the U.S. government, who was technically a traitor and fought on the side that was trying to secede from the country and battle the U.S. and a traitor to the country, which is also in line with the fact that the modern-day Republican Party and Trump himself is defending people who rioted and were a part of the insurrection and trying to mount a coup on the U.S. government. There is a connection there.
There's a direct connection. And for anybody watching who says, why are you talking about him? That is why. That is why. Because he wants to make a comeback. The House Republicans are within a few votes, a few races of taking back power in the House. He is... We will talk about him when he is relevant and he's trying to do things like that.
Right. I mean, it even reminds me, going back to the re-election, when suddenly the president was focused on how statues were getting toppled, in his own words, and actually using policy. And this is why it does matter. Government resources went to this, deploying federal agents to go and start protecting some of those statues at a time where the country was facing multiple national security threats, all of which to kind of focus in on what they deemed to be the sort of culture war talking points to try and appeal to supporters that may be fearing or scared that their vision of America may be losing out.
And in the here and now, just last hour, he endorsed the primary challenger to Liz Cheney, who, of course, not only voted for impeachment, but has been outspoken about the insurrection. As you said, outspoken, just saying the Republican Party needs to leave this guy behind because he is lies. He's the big lie and more. Fred Upton is another one. Liz Cheney tweeting back at the president just a moment ago, here's a soundbite for you, bring it. This will be one of the defining tests in the primary season of how much sway does Donald J. Trump still have on Republican voters.
Go ahead. That's right, John, because is there room in this Republican Party for Republicans like Cheney, ones who have been in the party her entire life, whose father, she's a part of a political dynasty, but now, because she is deciding, along with other members like Adam Kinzinger, to take a stand and say that we are not going to be a part of a party that thinks that an insurrection is okay and is just listening to one person as opposed to actually following the policies. I mean, make no mistake, Cheney is as conservative as they come. But she could very well lose because of the fact that so many voters are still attached to her.
And her leadership doesn't have her back. I'm not saying he's endorsed anybody else, but the fact that former President Trump is going to be at a fundraiser after the NRCC, and Kevin McCarthy has wrapped both arms around him because of his fundraising prowess, because of his power with some of the Republicans' most vocal supporters. That's all you need to know whether there's room for Kinzinger and Cheney. Maybe the voters will voice their preference there, but in terms of what's going on when you step back, former President Trump is the head of it.
And to that point, Trump keeps lying about the 2020 election. He praises Robert E. Lee, who, for a long list of reasons, it's just wacky and wild. He's now going after Republicans in his own party. The Speaker of the House, yes, she's a Democrat, Nancy Pelosi. Listen to this conversation. She had a fascinating conversation last night. She got an award, an honorary degree from Smith College. Listen to her point, trying to shake, yes, the opposition party to wake up.
And I say to my Republican friends, take back your party. The country needs a big, strong Republican Party. And I say that as a leader in the Democratic Party, but we need a big, strong Republican Party. You've done so much for our country. Take pride and take back your party. Don't have it be a cult of personality on the extreme, extreme, extreme right.
Now, there will be Republicans who say, oh, she doesn't mean that. She actually does mean that. She's been around long enough to know that when a 9/11 happens, when a pandemic happens, when a national crisis happens, you have to be able to go into the room with the other side. And at least you're going to disagree about things, but talk about the same set of facts, which is impossible right now.
I mean, and look, that appeal is all fine and good, but there have been numerous examples that Trump's influence over the party is pretty much firm at this point. I mean, even Senator Lindsey Graham's comments recently, where he said, look, the way that we are going to criticize Biden is not only the haphazard, chaotic withdrawal, which it was from Afghanistan, but also the border as well. And you're seeing them continue to, again, point to some of these things that they see as culture wars to appeal to their base as well.